Okay, I think we will get going because our time is precious. So, welcome to session two of the NSEAD National Conference, everyone, and indeed, welcome back if you were with us this morning. This morning we had our State of the Nation session, and we took a quite deep dive into what's actually happening in our classrooms and studios. The theme of this conference is designing a learner-centered curriculum. And what we were doing this morning was focusing on what we need to do to ensure that every learner is able to access their entitlement to an excellent art, craft, and design education. That's what we believe in, that's what we stand for. We talked about agency and power, and how we as educators can make that happen to enact that entitlement. We talked about how we can lead and not sit by helplessly waiting for policymakers to give us permission and for governments to catch up. Because we know that children only get one shot at this. Their experiences right now matter. A phrase that we had this morning was that being right now is as important as becoming. The present is as important as the future, but also what's come before us. There are lots of wonderful words used, but I think the one that sums up the mood of the morning is care, taking the care. All wonderful. And indeed, this is what gets us up in the morning, isn't it, to do the work that we do. But we know that none of this can happen unless the superhero workforce are also nurtured. So we're going to shift the tone this afternoon, really turn the focus inwards, guided by our next two guests to conference today. We're going to spend the next couple of hours actively reflecting on ourselves, our impact on the world around us, and what we need to do to grow and thrive. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're feeling comfortable and relaxed. I hope you've got your drinks, you know where the toilets are, you're free to move around. So settle in. And I'm going to now introduce our first guest of the afternoon, artist Christopher Samuel. It's wonderful to have Christopher back at an NSEAD conference. Christopher came and spoke at iJade in 2023. So it's great to see you back, Christopher. Thank you so much. Now, Christopher Samuel is a multidisciplinary artist whose practice is rooted in identity and disability politics, often echoing the many facets of his own lived experience. And of course, much of that lived experience is his experience of education, which I know he's going to share with us today. We are really privileged to welcome Christopher today to share those experiences as an artist and from his life. But he'll also be inviting us to engage in a creative activity from our desks and workspaces. So we've got a Padlet where you can find the resources that you will need to take part, and Christopher will explain to you in the best teacher style what you have to do, but that will all be there. Probably the most challenging thing that today will be me accessing the Padlet, but I know that Diane and Claire are here on hand to help with that. So when we get to that point, don't worry, all info is in the chat and we will help if you need it. But without further ado, Chris, we're in your hands for the next 50 minutes or so. So may I welcome you to conference and hand over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here. So, thank you for that kind introduction. So, should we go to the next slide? So, on the screen is a picture of me with my mom, age 3. We're in a park. I'm wearing a striped t-shirt, jeans shorts, and a lollipop in my hand, with my mum sitting next to me. I thought I'd start by telling you a bit about how I got into art and my experience of school. When I was growing up, school and education wasn't something that was really enjoyable for me, for a few different reasons. I'm the eldest of 3 siblings. I had a normal childbirth, but my mum knew something wasn't quite right from an early age, because I didn't start walking until the age of 2. She noticed I was falling over quite a bit and I was tired a lot of the time and in pain. Uh, she went to various doctors who told her that she was an overzealous young woman who didn't know what she was talking about. And I was just lazy. Uh, but she continued to push. I was at primary school when finally, with the support of the head teacher, um, medical professionals started to listen. Um, I was eventually diagnosed um, having um, neuro neuropathy disease called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. I forgot what condition I have, which affects my muscles and nerves. Uh, as soon as the doctors could put a label on me having disability, everything changed in how the world treated me. Next slide, please. So on screen, it's a picture of me, age 9, on the left, sat on the sofa with a science book on my lap, hiding my hands in my sleeves. On the right is a letter from Brent Council talking about the family fleeing from one borough to another. It also says Christopher is a very determined young man who has made a conscious decision to resist the effects of his condition as much as he can. He refuses to accept the term disabled and rejects any connotation of it. Shortly after being diagnosed, I was forced out of mainstream school into a special school. The way they pitched it to my mum uh, was a place where I could thrive in smaller classes and not worry about being different. But it was very, but it was very quickly clear uh, that this was, in my mum's own words, a dumping ground for disabled students and students who had been expelled from around the borough. In this school, there was no real push to deliver an academic curriculum for us. We spent most of our time playing either with sand, making cakes, drawing. All of those things are not bad, but within that context, very problematic. Any academic work we were given was way below what I could or should be doing. Um, this was the beginning of an unhealthy relationship with education, local authorities, and people in positions of power for me. It reflected how, at this time and historically, disabled people, disabled people's time wasn't very valued. We were there to be kept occupied and to be kept out of way, rather than individual children with ambitions, aspirations, and our own skills. Those were not recognized. When I was at mainstream primary school, I was a good student. I kept and keeping up with my work. But at the special school, there was a lack of expectation that we could follow a normal curriculum with or without additional support. And we were collectively expected not to want to learn. Hopefully, well, I know some of these attitudes and practices have changed since I was at school, but none of those experiences prepared me for the real world and reintegration into mainstream secondary school and the multiple barriers I was about to face. Next slide, please. On the screen on the left is a yellow social services certificate of registration. Um, when I was 14, registered me as a handicapped person, outdated language, but relevant for the time. And on the other two images is me sorry, yeah, is me at my new mainstream secondary school. And I'm with my friends in the playground. And then below, I'm sat around a table with my friend Joanne, and I can't remember the other young guy's name. My mum kept pushing for me to be removed from the special school, and she homeschooled me for 3 years until a suitable school place was found. This was done through going to a local MP, an ombudsman, getting a solicitor. Uh, I eventually got accepted into a mainstream school a year before I started my GCSEs. This was the only secondary school in the whole of the borough that would accept me as a student. It was the only one with a lift at the time, and they expected me to fall in with existing normal curriculum and timetable. But several years of not learning at special school and then homeschooling had put me on the back foot from the start. It meant that I was trying to catch up educationally and felt like I was being left behind constantly. It was a, it was good. The school had high expectations for me, but there was a real lack of adaptations and considerations or adjustments for my physical or educational needs. I was way behind educationally, and I was embarrassed to try or to ask for help, so I fell further behind. I was always late getting to classes, obviously because I moved slower, which was always my fault uh, by the teachers. So I started kind of skipping classes, ironically. But I was really enjoying being able to socialize with other children my age from different backgrounds. By the time I came to my GCSEs, I was really worried about what was waiting for me after I was leaving school. I left school with no GCSEs and unprepared. In hindsight, and reflecting back, I think all it would have taken for me to want to learn and feel supported would have been having a teacher both push but also support me in the areas I was behind with. More than and more one-to-one time would have enabled me to catch up and would have changed my relationship with education. Next slide, please. On the screen are two of my drawings. Uh, they're both black and white painting drawings. Uh, on the left is a drawing of a narrow alleyway with a magpie at the end with a car in the distance. And on the right is a drawing of a series of doors with my name on them, along with bird names below that. I like symbolism. Uh, for a few years after my GCSEs, I tried to get lots of jobs with no success. I think this was because they felt I couldn't do what was needed, and they weren't willing to make reasonable adjustments. I even tried to volunteer, but nowhere would take me, even as a volunteer. My relationship with education up until this point had been one of embarrassment, fear, and lack of trust with educators. It wasn't until I spent a expanded period in this hospital, just under 2 years in hospital. And as part of that, I undertook some counseling. That one counselor suggested uh, I should look into training as a counselor. I went on to do a short course, then did a diploma and trained as a therapist, which I enjoyed. But academically, the reading, the writing, putting together essays, all of which was a challenge and alien to me. But the difference was this time I had support. I had a dictaphone and someone to scribe for me, which enabled me to engage with the course and successfully complete tasks. I needed extra time for an exam to read and communicate things, but those adjustments were made. Next slide, please. On screen is another my drawing titled The Days I Never Died, and black and white pen drawing. A man with a skull for a head, sitting in an outline of himself on a parquet floor. Around him, bags with things written on them, like um, drugs, sex, love. After finishing my course and practicing for a little bit, I ended up back in hospital for a long period of stay again. Um, uh, by the time I left hospital, I wasn't in the right place to be counseling back up. But that perspectives came through the door for a local college, a college for disabled students. I looked and, and I wasn't sure, but it says come in for an interview. And if you're unsure, we can talk about it, potential courses during the interview. So I did. I ended up signing up to an art and design course, which was completely alien to me. I hadn't created art before in my life. Secretly, I enjoyed art from afar. Um, my lecturers and art teachers pushed me but supported me. Uh, it was, again, one of the first times I experienced someone having academic expectations of me in a healthy but best practice way. I ended up completing this BTEC course, which was a 2 year course in a year. Uh, but the penny dropped when I was asked to draw a self portrait. Up until that point, I did everything I could not to draw on the course. So I thought I'd be disappointed and that would put me off. But I did, and it looked like me. Uh, from that point on, I kind of immersed myself fully into reading about and creating art. I found a passion which transcended my fears to try, and that had immobilized me before. I choose to make things that I can do independently to begin with, like drawing, uh, which I could do in great detail. And at the time, it gave me autonomy. Next slide, please. On the screen is a photo of a series of white frames, black and white prints. Um, this is for a work called Housing Crisis. Um, when I went on to university, I did a foundation course degree, then did a fine art degree with one of uh, one of the only, not only, but more accessible universities that had practical and academic support that spoke to me, and that I could stay on campus and experience going to university in that capacity. Um, and I did. I graduated with a first class degree. My mum was very proud. Uh, After leaving, just before leaving uni, I was made homeless, and I created this piece called Housing Crisis. It made in 2028. Uh, and this was because just before I left, two local authorities were fighting over whose responsibility was to rehouse me and also pay for my care. So what I did was I took the email exchanges uh, that were exchanged between the two local authorities with myself in between. Because what they had been doing was weaponizing uh, weaponizing the kind of policies and laws against me. Uh, and I found a specialized solicitor to kind of deal with that. But there was a clear uh, game of power dynamics happening around me. I didn't feel seen in this fight. It wasn't, I wasn't being spoken to. I was being spoken about. And I wasn't being consulted. I had no power in the decisions that were about to be made. Next slide, please. So these are two images from the redacted uh, email exchanges. It wasn't until I found a specialist solicitor who could decipher the legal documents and tell me what the law was and what my legal rights were that I could regain some power in the conversation. So for housing crisis, I used redaction to turn heavy, text-heavy correspondence about my housing experience into a dialogue about what was really happening and how it felt to be in the middle of this argument. For me, the work was a real turning point in my practice and a catalyst for what I do now, which is make work about disability and identity politics, but also the realization that there are many people out there like me having similar experiences that don't have the voice or the resources. It led me wanted to share what it was like to live my life with people who may not have experiences of disability, not in a negative way, but we all go about our lives without considering what other people's real lived experiences are like, and that's not a negative. Uh, but I can show in some way uh, a reality of that. Next slide, please. On the screen is two images. One of a large stained glass showing a black man in a wheelchair surrounded by other people with halos, shards of light, bright colors, and then another photograph of me with my artwork in a gallery in Birmingham Museum, which has just opened up. Since then, my practice has developed and grown. I now make a lot of work about underrepresentation or missing voices, particularly in spaces such as galleries, museums, and archives. I've worked with the Wellcome Trust, the National Trust, South Bank, local central government, um, and currently just finished a residency with University Arts London and UAL and Birmingham Museum, which you can see on screen. Next slide, please. So now I think we're going to do a little workshop activity, uh, and we're going to use some redactions. Using redaction is, I'm just going to say, you probably know, but turning something into something else. For this workshop, you will be using that to conceal or reveal language, uh, changing the meaning. I use redaction to pull our personal story or lived reality or out of a impersonal documents that have been sent to me or that I have to interact with. I'm going to give you, or I'm, I'm going to give you, or you should have been given, sent a range of documents to pick from to redact. Just some trigger warning. Some of the documents deal with sensitive issues, including suicide, funding cuts, coronavirus, things that are relevant to us right now. I want you to explore using redaction to change the meaning of the text. Choose one document that you connect to, or are interested or feel something about. You can respond in a personal way about how something might impact you or affect you, but it doesn't have to be personal if that isn't something you're comfortable sharing to share today. You could turn it into a poem, use humor, highlight what something actually means, or make something say something completely opposite. Um, use redaction to make a statement. Uh, so think about changing the language and its meaning. Arcs, another thing is, arcs what is shown and what is hidden. Make something new and unique to the document. Uh, I've got some other examples. So think about identity, whose voice is being heard or is missing. What's the lived experience behind the text? How should you respond in this situation or document? How does it make you feel? What is the text by? And who is it for? Who does the text exclude? Is there inequality or marginalization within that? What language is being used? What effects does that have on you or the person is addressed or speaks about? Um, and how could we use language to enable people to be their best selves? Um, Ask where the real person and lived experience is within this. Right. So I'm going to give you 20 minutes to do this, and then including uh, taking a 5 minute break if you need to, and then we can come back, do some Q&A.
Right, that's the challenge, folks. Off we go. Thank you so much, Christopher. We're all going to kind of get our heads down now. I think NCAD team want to
Okay.
get redacting as well. So time for you to have a break as well.
Okay.
And we'll see you back for
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll see you in a
Yeah.
minute. Oh, not here.
Hello?
Oh yeah, you're back.
Hey, yeah. I was saying, I agree. I'm saying I find it quite fun.
Yeah, it's quite unconscious. Things float
Yeah,
up.
yeah, they appear, or it's a nice way to reflect and even put yourself in a different position.
Mm.
I like to look at things from many different positions, not just my own, just to see, just have a clearer picture.
Yeah, there is something about having a place to begin from as well, which is really it takes pressure off, but it also creates opens up a different space,
Yeah,
exactly as you say, to
yeah,
think about something as another perspective.
yeah.
I know it's really really good. What I know about our members is that they will be refining and working on these pieces, doing
Okay.
right. So we'll have to kind of make sure that we get them gathered. We'll get a couple, we'll get a few now, I think, but to gather them up and send them on so you can have a see what people
Okay.
what
Amazing.
emerged. Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
it's brilliant. And we're just coming up to time. The other thing we're not always good at is coming back, but on time,
Mm.
because teachers are always running around.
Yeah, yeah.
But we will get started in a minute because I've got a couple of questions. And Diane, I know you're there somewhere, though I can't see you.
I'm here. I'm here.
Hello, Diane. I'm wondering if you would like to share the Padlet in a moment. Before you do, we have got one of our wonderful attendees, Christopher, who I think would quite like to speak. Just to you directly. I think you're
Okay.
very moved. And if you're happy to
Yeah.
step to the podium, we'll give her that moment in a minute. We're always, it's somebody we're always very keen to hear speak. I'll just put it that way. Right. I think with lots of people will still be scribbling away, printing, working on screen. But just to say, folks, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Christopher, that exercise was such a powerful thing to do. For me, I found that the words were floating up to me coming from the things I'd heard. So to do it directly after listening to you speak about your journey as an artist, but how it was shaped by those early experiences in education and the backwards and forwards of it all. One of the big issues in education right now that government is actively concerned about, to their credit, whether or not they can solve it, is all the children and young people have been left behind by education. So there's definitely a strong recognition of that. As I say, what will come out of current policy developments to do something about it, we shall see. But I was really struck listening to you. Something that one of our speakers this morning said, Zena Buta, talking about what she does in her school, was she asked herself the question, does what I offer match the ambition of my pupils? And listening to you, that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Your ambitions were
Yeah.
not seen or matched often enough. But you also kind of gave us such a strong sense of when those ambitions are seen and respected and held by a teacher, what the possibilities are. And we look at your career as an artist now, and that's testament to that. So yeah, I wanted to thank you for that, and also to thank you for something you said before we came online, and we were talking about our members, about teachers and the work they do, and you said something that really will stay with me, was that if you could do a small thing to support people who hold the future in their hands, you were very pleased to do it. You've done more than a small thing. The comments we're getting, people are feeling very, very moved and very, yeah, very, very inspired to action. So I thought we could have a look and see what we've got on the Padlet. If people have finished anything, I think we might have. Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Oh my goodness! Right. Well, I'm just going to say right now, I hadn't looked at the Padlet, so I didn't know. And my experience is anything that involves working super quick. it can be quite challenging, and anything that involves getting things uploaded.
Uh,
So I'm going to invite you to look at that screen there, Christopher, and judge for yourself the response just by the volume. That speaks volumes.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and I don't know how Diane's just kind of scrolling through a few here. I
amazing.
Yeah, do you want to just pause there, Diane? Up a bit, down a bit, up a bit. This is a lovely one. I also looked at this one and had a very different response. Very different. I'm really struck by this one, just because it's the one I did. I don't know what your thoughts are there, Christopher.
I think it's thought provoking, it's poignant. I think it's amazing. I was intrigued to see who would choose that document because it's so relevant. Yeah,
Is it's really interesting, isn't it? As well, it's a government document, a statement
yeah,
from government.
yeah,
There's a lot of words,
yeah,
a lot of we wills, a lot of and the person that's chose to redact on that has taken all those words out. They've
yeah,
left
yeah,
half a
yeah,
dozen.
yeah.
Um, that in itself is interesting. Diane, do you want to pick out another? Oh,
See, amazing.
anger and
Again,
frustration.
relevant,
Yeah,
super relevant.
iceberg.
I'm impressed.
Oh, they're amazing. They're amazing. Amazing armor, Miss Christopher. um, Dan, do you want to give us another there? Because we've got some questions as well.
Yeah,
Government crackdown.
yeah,
And we had one from one of the team as well amongst these that I had. It was one of the first one off on the board that I'd love to look at, which was uh, it was what's your problem? That's it. Um, I'm just going to act. No, I'm not going to out the person it is. I would like to, but I do love this fellow NSCAD team member. But what's your problem?
yeah,
How to
yeah.
fix it? Why are you here? Where is the problem? It is incredibly powerful. And these are questions I think I ask myself every day.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Um, well, listen, everyone. The Padlet's there. Please, you know, enjoy going through those and seeing
Would I
all
be
of
able
the
to
perspective.
would I be able to have access to this? I would love to share
Oh,
this on
absolutely.
my Instagram, my social.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. And we'd love to kind of hear back from you about your thoughts as well. So it's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Well, that tells you just how much that reflection was needed, um, and what a wonderful activity to support us to do that. So thanks again. We have got some questions though, and I'd love to take some time to go through a couple of those if we can. Um, I'm going to start with one from Judith Hegarty. How important do you think your art teachers were in giving you a method and maybe also the bravery to speak out about the underrepresentation of disabled and minoritized people?
Holy moly. So
Yeah.
I reference them all the time. I think they gave me permission to speak about something I thought I couldn't speak about unknowingly, um, priming me for what I do now. I think regardless if I wasn't making work about identity and disability, they gave me permission to 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 come as I am, but have expectations, uh, which was good. But I felt supported. I felt seen, uh, uh, and they met me at my level. even though, and just to clarify, I trained as a counselor. I'd done a lot of work and that felt good. But if I'm completely honest, I still didn't value myself, you know, and those teachers have had a profound effect. Look at what I'm doing now. I could have never foreseen doing this. And that's the complete honest truth.
That is a very that is very honest. Thank you. And actually, I think that's something that teachers perhaps need to hear, because we do talk an awful lot about the amazing things that teachers can do.
Mm,
They do hold the future in their hands,
yeah,
and also, the things that teachers do are felt decades. They're felt
yeah,
throughout children's lives. They
yeah,
may never see them,
yeah.
but actually, we can't do it all.
No,
And to hear you say that, I think is actually
yeah,
really
yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah. That is important. But also, I just wanted to say something quick. I imagine I didn't find that I didn't come into contact with those teachers. My life would be very different, you know.
Yeah.
So,
That no, no, that actually that's touches on a question we've got here. In fact, uh, amazing talk, says our member. Thank you. And she says, in FE, you shared that it was one of the first times you experienced anyone having academic expectations of you. And Sophie asks, how would you change your art lessons in school from art wasn't for me to art is for me? So I guess she's kind of looking for that. What could have been done differently? And if you
so,
did, what would you
so,
say?
again, I think each child is individual. That you need to come to them at their level, but also relevance. They need to feel some sort of connection to what you're trying to pull out of them or getting them to respond. That's their interest in the real world, gaming, fashion, whatever it is. Um, but also alongside that is having a healthy expectation for them. One thing my mum always did, she didn't wrap me in cotton wool. She loved me, but she also was quite honest and open about this is what you need to do in order to do this, or this is the reality. Um, but again, I think breaking down for me, the way my tutor or what I would do is break down skills or achievable steps um, for students to see their progress whilst doing the other bits together. I think that's a good recipe.
Mm,
And also, and I know funding is always at the core of teachers' time, but get artists in, get people into the school to connect with the children or the young adults or adults. Um, I know if I came across an artist similar to me, or I would have been like, oh my God, yes. Yes. So yeah.
yeah, those are good messages. That kind of that combination of, yeah, healthy expectations, giving people something to reach for, and not being wrapped up in cotton wool.
Yeah.
It that's not something necessarily we get a strange tension, I think, in the current education system
Yeah.
of unrealistic
Yeah.
expectations and then very little agency.
Yeah.
So it's not the healthiest mix. But I like also that very practical, create the conditions for success that
Yeah.
they pupils can
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
because when you can see that you've achieved, you
Yeah.
can, you
Yeah.
get that confidence. And then, yeah, go wider, go just connect and show pupils who's out there that they
Yes.
can aspire to be.
Yeah.
It's quite
Yeah.
simple stuff actually, isn't it?
But but we're human.
Yeah,
That's the thing. I think we all have fundamental needs as human, and as humans. And when those needs are met, those are transformative for an individual.
Well, I think that transformative is always a word to end any session on, isn't it? I'm feeling a bit transformed to myself. Just so thank you. We've got a very
Yeah,
practical question and the respectful question, which is, may I use your redaction material for a workshop for students,
of
Christopher?
course, of course,
Tina, there you
of
go.
course.
Wonderful, thank you. There's so much for us to take away. Things very practically we can take away, but also in our hearts as well. So I thank you again on behalf of
You're
conference.
welcome.
Um, Thank you so
It's
much for your time and your inspiration. And yeah, we hope to continue working with you, Christopher, because you're good for
like
us.
likewise,
Wonderful.
likewise. Everybody
Thank
have
you
a
so much.
great rest of the week.
You too.
All the
Oh
best.
gosh.
Bye bye.